Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. And man, have things changed in the world since I last recorded an episode just last week. Things are changing daily with this whole coronavirus. Schools are closed, churches are closed, restaurants are only open to drive-through service or takeout service, and there's fear everywhere. And if you watch the news constantly, it's easy to be sucked into that, into all the bad news. I hope that, guys, this episode today is a ray of sunshine for you, some positive, good news to cling on to, because there is still great news out there. I believe that more than ever, this is the best time in the history of the world to be an entrepreneur. In fact, it's even better now than it was just last week. With everything that's happening, there are people that are fearful of their jobs, people that are stuck at home now that can't go to work, are not allowed to go to work, or that lost their job over this. My heart breaks for them. And I just know that a lot of you that are listening, you have the answer. You're doing it already. You are entrepreneurs. You're selling on Amazon. You're launching books. You're launching courses. You're making an income online. And it is so possible. I want to get this word out to so many more people, because the things that we teach on this podcast, the things that are in the communities that I have, they're working, and right now is the time to jump in. If you've not done it, if you're thinking about starting an online business, now's the time. Especially if you are stuck at home and you have nothing to do. Turn off the Netflix, turn off the news, watch courses, read books. There's so much good information out there. I felt compelled to put together, and I know not everybody wants to start an online business. You have a skill set. You have something that could be useful right now. There are people that need your skills and are still hiring. And so things like, you might want to run errands for the elderly. There's folks that are not leaving their house but still need groceries. Guys, there are still creative ways to make money online and offline. I came up with a free download. It's called Streams of Side Hustle Income. So my main book is called Streams of Income. I just made a quick download. There's 50 different ideas on there. Some of the ideas we talk about on this podcast, some of them are completely different than anything I've ever talked about before, but there are 50 ways that you can make money online or offline. Certainly, hopefully there's something in there that resonates with you, that feels like it's a fit. If you just go to ryanrieger.com/side hustle, ryanrieger.com/side hustle. It will be there. You can download it for free. Also, if you don't want to remember that website, just go to streamsofincomeradio.com. It'll be in the show notes for this episode. We're on episode 32. Guys, I just want to encourage you. Like I said, today now is the best time to be an entrepreneur. I believe it's ripe. It's a perfect time. Students of mine that are big-time Amazon sellers and even small-time Amazon sellers, their sales are increasing as people are shopping online. Washington Post just said that Amazon is going to be hiring 100,000 new warehouse workers and delivery drivers. So things are expanding online. This is the best time to start an online business. I believe that selling physical products is one of the easiest, lowest hanging fruit ways of getting started with a business. It's something that you can do with very little money, sometimes no money, and with very little experience, even no experience. And so let me know how I can help you get started. There were so many resources out there. Just go to streamsofincomeradio.com. In the show notes, I'll have some resources there for getting started with that. Some ideas on ways to take advantage of this time and to get started. So guys, I know some of you are fearful. And it's okay to feel that fear, but don't let it sit there. Don't let it take root in your heart. Things that I do during this time when I feel the temptation to get fearful, guys, I go to the Word. Go to the Word of God. My favorite book is the Bible. I read Psalms 91. Scriptures like, where he who sits in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. God has promised to protect us. When I get fearful about provision, where the money's going to come from, I look at Psalms 23, and it's where it says, "The Lord is my shepherd to feed, guide, and shield me; I shall not lack." And that's in the Amplified Version. The Lord is my shepherd to feed, guide, and shield me; I shall not lack. Guys, it's His responsibility to provide for me. I trust in Him. I rely on Him. He gives me ideas. We're doing well financially. No problems there. This virus is not affecting my business at all in any way. A couple of events that we have are canceled, but it's not going to be a problem. And in this episode, I'm talking with Mark Willis, and it's going to be about how to virus-proof your money. And I'm so thankful that I found Mark and his system before all this stuff happened, because I'm not at all concerned about what's going on with the markets. Another verse that means a lot to me, guys, and I'll just share this and we'll get into this episode with Mark, is Philippians 4, 6, and 7. And in the Amplified Version, it says, "Do not fret or have any anxiety about anything, but in every circumstance and in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, continue to make your wants known to God, and God's peace, which transcends all understanding, shall garrison and mount guard over your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." So it's like God puts a troop of soldiers around your heart and your mind when you cast those cares onto Him, when you refuse to be anxious. When those anxious thoughts come to you, just dismiss them you can't just think another thought. You have to say something out loud. So I highly recommend saying the Word of God out loud. It brings peace to me in these crazy, crazy times. Guys, stop watching the news. Stop constantly feeding on the negative. Yeah, grab the news, look at it, get the facts, and then move on to something else. This is a time to dig into courses and books that are going to help you and feed your mind with good stuff. So hopefully that's been encouraging to you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Ryan@ryanrieger.com is my email. I love reading all the emails I get. I respond back to all of them eventually, but I really want to get that downloaded into your hands. Just go to ryanrieger.com/side hustle and get that free download of the 50 offline and online ways to make money. Most of them are applicable right now, things you could be doing right now to make some extra money. And guys, many of those strategies could turn into full-time things online and offline for you. A lot of my students have done that. We'll dig into my interview with Mark Willis. He's a financial advisor with Lake Growth Financial. He knows his stuff. And that website to learn more about his program and the things that Melaine and I are doing to protect our finances, our future, our retirement, is yourstreamsofincome.com. We'll get into it with Mark Willis. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for coming back to the Streams of Income radio show. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Good being with you, Ryan.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we've had some crazy things happen since we last talked. The whole coronavirus thing. It's not only affecting people's health, but it's affecting their finances. I know we were just on a call a few days ago on a different topic, and I thought, man, I got to get you back on because you would have some very interesting and wise things to say for my audience. So let's talk about it. Obviously the stock market's gone down. People are frightened not only to leave their house, but there's folks, Mark, that have lost income. And just what's going on?
Yeah, it has been a wild ride, and even just the last week, and we're recording this on March 16th. That's a Monday. So by the time this episode drops on Friday, we could, be in a world where the cockroaches and the Twinkies are ruling the world. So who knows what's going to happen next, So we've had an incredible loss of confidence in the global markets, and confidence is really the only thing keeping the market going in the first place. We don't even have a currency that's backed by any kind of physical asset. We used to have a gold-based system. Now we have a credit-based or a confidence-based system. And so when confidence evaporates, there goes your retirement, unfortunately. And yeah, the average Joe, the mom and pop investor, was caught off guard. I think, a lot of people have called events like this black swan events, where you just can't see it coming. You can't plan for it. 6 months ago, economists were talking about student loan debt being a bubble, and auto loans, and everything else. But who would have thought even 2 months ago that a physical human virus would have done this kind of havoc to a financial system and caused the Federal Reserve to drop their interest rates down to zero? That's never happened in our lifetimes and ever in the history of the Federal Reserve. So in only in emergency circumstances do they have these sort of measures. Ryan, they just dumped $1.5 trillion into the repo market, which just is a fancy word for saying kind of the overnight money, because nobody was wanting to borrow. Banks weren't wanting to borrow. It almost froze up the whole system. So we're coming regularly closer and closer to the cliffs of insanity, as the Princess Bride used to call it. So, when in a world that's kind of going insane, we try to work on strategies that bring more financial sanity to people's lives. And this is exactly why we, are doing what we do. And this is every day, right? Your work, our work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Guys, this is why I have Mark as a sponsor and why I believe in I'm a client of his. And I feel like I'd be doing you all a disservice if I didn't share the strategies that he talks about and that my family have been able to benefit from. But so you said that right before we started hitting record, you said the stock market is negative as of today, negative 26%. Yeah, so if somebody has $100,000 invested in the stock market, now they have 74,000.
That's right. And that's of this moment. At the end of the day, who knows where we'll be. We're losing 9%, 9.5% as of our recording right now for the day. And, there was a great upswing on Friday. And before that, Thursday, we had a 10% down trend. So we're getting 10% down, 10% up every day for the last 3 market selling days. I'll tell you, there hasn't been this much volatility. I looked this up. 10% down, 10% up. That hasn't happened, Ryan, since October of 1929.
Oh my gosh.
To give your listeners some perspective of where we are right now. Yeah. And from our highs, we've lost everything that we've gained and had in the markets since clear back to almost the summer of 2017.
Wow.
So we've lost, almost, whatever that is there, 2.5, 3 years. So, we're in unprecedented times.
So way worse than 2008 currently.
Yeah. Yes. Only because of the speed of the loss. Okay. 2008 ended up losing everybody more money in terms of percentage of the market, but we also had like 7 months to let that unravel. We're still in the early stages, I believe. I don't know. Nobody knows the future. Things could return. Confidence might return. But that's the problem. Honestly, Ryan, that's the problem. Because we don't know, and because we pour so much of our hard-earned money into things that we can't control, the problem isn't whether it's up or down. The problem is we have this fog over our money and over our future. How can we truly call anything in the market a plan when somebody sneezing the wrong way on the other side of the world can wreck your plan, right? That's not a plan. That's just gambling, right?
That's true. Oh my
gosh. I hope and pray for the safety of everyone listening. I have no intention to diminish what is going on a health basis, but why are we putting our money regularly returning to the same abusive? I kind of have started referring to the stock market like an abusive relationship, unfortunately, Ryan. If you think about it, we talk about the stock market much like we talk about abusive relationships, This time it's different, Ryan.
Right.
It'll always come back, right? It's my fault I'm in this situation. I mean, these things are the things that we say about the stock market. And I hate to say it, but that's the way we've kind of become accustomed to our money. I mean, we've become a nation of speculators, and there's just a better way. There's been better ways for generations.
Gosh. Yeah, just thinking about this virus and how it seems, at least the statistics are saying that it's hitting the elderly harder. The drop in the market, it hurts everybody who's invested, but think about that retired person. who's invested all of their life savings into the stock market. Not only do they are at a greater chance of risk with health wise during this, but also financially too.
Yep. You got it.
Gosh.
Exactly. If it's all right, I'd love to share my screen for
go
our
for
viewing
it. And guys, I know that
audience.
you that are listening, we're gonna. I know typically I don't do this on a podcast, but you'll be able to follow along audibly, and I'll have these charts on my website at streamsofincomeradio.com.
Happy to share anything you'd like with your audience, but be sure you pull over the car before you look at the numbers, guys. All right. So I'll try to explain this audibly as best as I can. So let's imagine Jane and Jim, both Jane and Jim have the exact same starting balance in their IRAs. Let's say they both have $500,000. They're both 65 years old. They're both invested in the exact same thing, so they get the exact same average rate of return over, let's say, 13 years. And they both are taking income since they're 65 years old. They're both taking income out of their accounts. Now, I said everything is exactly the same between Jane and Jim, except one important detail, and that is their remaining savings after just 13 years are very different. And Ryan, I know you can see it. I know our video audience can see it, but Jim ends up with $344,000 after 13 years, where Jane only has 74 grand left after just 13 years, 500 grand to under $100,000 in just 13 years. Now they took the exact same withdrawals, so they're paying for the same groceries. Everything's the exact same. The only difference was the sequence of their rate of return.
Are these numbers based on here, based on like the last 13 years?
Yeah, we just flipped them upside down for Jim and Jane.
Okay.
They're the exact same annual rates of return.
Okay.
But poor Jane had 3 years at the very beginning of her retirement that were negative, such like we're going through right now in the stock market. Jane had 10% negative year. Next year was negative 13%. The next year was negative 23. And after just 3 years of her retirement, she's already lost half of her life savings.
Gosh.
But Jim has boosted his savings up to 600 grand, just because of the order of the returns. And the reason why I'm showing this to your audience is we can't control what order we get our rates of return from the market.
Okay.
We can control very few things. We can control how much income we take out of our stock accounts. We can control a number of things there, but what we cannot control is what the stock market hands us each year in the way of a rate of return. Like I said, these guys got the exact same average rate of return. Average return for both of them was 3.77%. So it's the exact same return, but it's just the order of those returns.
Oh my gosh.
That's the one thing we can't really control.
Wow.
So
crazy.
If you are in retirement and you are needing income, and you're taking money out of a stock account that's lost value, then that's like a double pain. It's almost like, you got hit twice because you're removing money out of your IRA right as the money is being vaporized due to the market.
Gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so kind of sobering, isn't it? Just thinking about all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're doing this. I mean, how can people protect their money? Obviously, I can talk a little bit about what you do, and maybe talk in layman's terms is, with what's happening since the beginning of the year, guys. The money that I have invested, it may not have. I don't know. Correct me if I say anything wrong here. It will never lose. So the stock market could lose 50%. You said 26% over the since the beginning of the year. So it could be 50%, and I may not gain anything during that time. But the cool thing is that I won't lose it, so I won't be negative 26%.
That's right.
And so the money is safe, and I can sleep at night knowing that. I care what happens in the stock market because I have friends, family that are invested there. But as far as my personal situation, my family situation, our future, it's secure. So let's talk about that, why that is, and how people can learn more about it.
That's huge, Ryan. Yeah, this is why we did what we did, 9-10 years ago when we set up our financial firm. I believed at that moment in 2011, 12, and so on, when we started our financial firm, Lake Growth Financial Services, that we weren't done having recessions. That was on the heels of 2008 and 9. And I just believe that, this was going to keep happening. How many more recessions are we willing to put up with? How many years lost? Once you lose money, you can't get it back. It's not like you can hold on, and because if we lose $1 today, that's $1 that we'll never see grow for us ever again. So we set up some strategies. We discovered some strategies that have been around really for generations, 100, 200 years. And one of those strategies is something coined the bank on yourself concept, which bank on yourself, for those new to that idea, it's using a modernized form of a almost 200-year-old asset that's been really designed to grow on a guaranteed basis every single year. We're looking at in this case, it's a dividend-paying whole life contract. And whole life insurance has been, poo-pooed by radio hosts and, book authors, people who would rather see their money, get 30% return on a good year in the market. But the reality of a well-designed, bank on yourself designed whole life policy is that it's going to have somewhere between 8 and 40 times more cash than the old-fashioned whole life that our grandparents might have had.
Right.
It grows every month. It grows every year. You get a dividend check. If it's a dividend-paying whole life policy, you get dividends paid into the policy or as a check in the mail, passive income, right? And so you're able to see that net worth on your statement build on a guaranteed basis, no matter what's happening in the stock market, no matter what's going on in the world economy. On a contractual basis, the insurance company must pay you more money this year than you had last year. So every year since my wife and I have set up these policies, our net worth has grown on a guaranteed basis. Can't turn that off. It just happens.
Yeah. So essentially, you've virus-proofed your money.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. Yeah, we've got the money antivirus.
Money.
So
that's right.
Yeah,
and just to be clear, like you mentioned radio show host. So, I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey, and he typically is saying, don't do this strategy. But what he's talking about is something completely different than what you just described.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've got the numbers to prove it. If folks want to see those numbers, I could share them now, or we could just talk about it in detail in concept, Ryan. But yeah, Dave Ramsey's talking about a whole life contract that has zero cash value in the first years. It has a level death benefit, meaning it doesn't grow. What we're describing squeezes the expenses and the commissions out of the policy and floods that policy with liquid money, guaranteed cash right away in the first month. And then it builds and grows a death benefit to keep up with inflation. So it's certainly, it's categorically different than anything I've seen Dave talk about on his radio show.
Yeah. And there's some really cool things you can do with it too, especially if you invest in other things. And we could have a whole episode. And I know you have your own podcast. What's the name of your podcast for people to check out?
Yeah, thank you. It's Not Your Average Financial Podcast.
And guys, I'll put a link to it. It's really good. He has all kinds of different scenarios. And so, for example, let's say, two things. One is that I have a lot of people in my audience that are online sellers. They sell physical products online. And so, guys, one strategy for you, if you're in that boat, is instead of let's say that you found some inventory that you want to buy to sell on Amazon, and it's going to cost you $5,000. Maybe it's some wholesale inventory, and you have $30,000 in the bank. Well, you could easily just take $5,000 out of the bank and go buy that. Totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, once you take that $5,000 out of the bank, it's no longer working for you. Now it is working for you in Amazon, which is awesome, but wouldn't you love a way to double dip? And so here's how that could work. Instead of having $30,000 in your savings account or your business checking account, let's say you had $30,000 in a policy like this, you could borrow $5,000 from that policy and go buy your Amazon inventory. And let's say you make 25% on that over there on Amazon. Well, the money, that $5,000, is still earning you dividends and interest as if you never took it out, correct?
That's precisely, man. Yeah, you got it. Exactly.
And the same thing would work with a car. So a $50,000 car, you have the money in the bank. Sure, you can just go buy it if you want to, deplete your savings account to buy the car. You pay cash for it. That's awesome. That's what a lot of folks would tell you to do. And you don't have a payment. But then that money, that $50,000, is no longer working for you. In fact, it's that car is depreciating as soon as you drive it off the lot, especially if it's a brand new one. So why not have that money in a policy? You pull that money out to buy your car, and that money is still working for you in the policy as if you never borrowed it to begin with. And you never have to pay it back. Now, it's better to do that, but if you don't, then the money that you took out is just deducted from your death benefit when you pass. So you never even have to pay it back if you don't want to. But again, Mark, it's better to do that, right?
Man, you got it exactly right. Yeah, it's always in our interest to refund that policy, to repay that policy loan. You don't want to steal from your own bank. Why? You might end up wanting to buy another car someday, probably.
Right.
That might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you want, I'd love to talk about the an example of what this actually looks like.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, apologies to our listening only audience. And Ryan, please feel free to include this in your show notes if you don't mind.
Yep.
But one episode in particular that we recently did was episode 118, How to Triple Your Net Worth, with Dan Proskauer. And the episode itself is a lot of fun, but most importantly for this is his net worth chart. He literally posted, he was kind enough to share his actual net worth chart and shows us exactly what his net worth was every month since January of 1999.
Okay.
And this is a guy who followed the rise and fall of the tech bubble. He had the pop of pets.com and Enron and all that, if you remember that. And then the 2003 to 2006 very slow recovery, and then the market boom, and then the market crash and the financial crisis of 2008 and 9. And as you see there, in June of 2009, he opened his very first bank on yourself type policy. And if you can see that, he has literally tripled his net worth. It's just been a steady march upward ever since. And as you can see up the page there, he's got a number of policies now and has continued to grow and accumulate his net worth. He's never seen a down year in his overall net worth since starting those policies. And one thing I really just reflected on as I looked at this chart, Ryan, was the 2008 and even the tech bubble of 2001 are so small now as compared to the growth of his policies. It almost looks like the financial crisis for him, which was once a big, big, big deal for him when he lost all that money in his 401k. But now looking backwards, as he's now almost 10 years into his Bank on Yourself journey, he's now looking at, I almost see that as financial noise. It's almost hard to even read it. It's so small now. What do you notice as you see this chart?
My gosh. Well, obviously that in May 2019 or September 2009 is when it started going up, and it's just, he says nearly tripled in 10 years. What's the red lines in the bottom right?
Yeah, good. So you notice toward January 2014, so about 5-6 years into his Bank on Yourself journey, you'll start seeing green lines above and red lines below the kind of trend line there. That is him taking loans against his policy to buy real estate. Okay. So he's got a mortgage on the property, but he's also got his policy earning wealth for him at the same time. Just like you were saying, you were just describing how this might work for a car. Imagine how this works for real estate investing. Yeah. And so that's exactly what he's got on this chart here.
Okay. Very cool. So guys, you can, Mark, I haven't thought of another question I want to ask you, but I want to make sure if some people have to drop off here, it's go to yourstreamsofincome.com and you can set up a free assessment to talk to Mark or one of his growing team. And it's, guys, I hope, just check it out. At least check out that site, yourstreamsofincome.com. It's given my family a lot of peace of mind, and I'd hate seeing what's happening in the market right now, but I'm peaceful knowing it doesn't affect us. So it's that's super cool. Thinking about you mentioned earlier that the interest rate dropped to zero, and I was reading literally last night thinking, okay, what does that mean for me? I read that it doesn't necessarily, the mortgage rates, like my home mortgage, I'm on a fixed anyway, but like, let's say that I wanted to go out and buy a home right now, the mortgage rates may not, because they're based on 10-year treasury bonds. Is that what it's right? Okay. So it's different, but they could fall as well. Correct?
Yeah. The treasury could fall.
The rates for a mortgage, a home, like a fixed mortgage could drop.
That's right. Yeah, they
as
certainly
well?
could. Yep. In fact, the Fed, it's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes the Fed follows where mortgages already are,
Okay.
and other times the Fed leads the way.
Okay.
I think in this case, they were simply following where mortgage rates already were. I don't see mortgage rates falling dramatically after yesterday's announcement,
Okay.
although I'm sure some will look to pick up extra low refis if you've never done a cash out refinance.
Uh-huh.
Or a regular refinance, you might consider that these days.
Okay.
If we're
That's what I was going to ask you. So what does that mean that they dropped it almost to 0 or to 0? What's that mean for the regular person like me?
Yeah. So, imagine a world where, stockbrokers could just pick and choose how much your Apple stock was worth in your portfolio. How would that make you feel, right? That's kind of what the Fed is doing with your savings accounts. Why do we have savings accounts, bonds, money market accounts at such low interest rates? Why have they been so low for many years? I don't know if anyone even remembers, but you could easily find banks with 5, 6, 8%, savings accounts and CDs. But we've been in such a low interest rate environment now since really the turn of the millennia that it's just become commonplace. So the Fed really pushing rates down to 0 is artificially making businesses go out and spend money. And if they're changing the way you sort of anticipate the future cost of goods. If you're a business owner and you knew that your cost of money in the future was going to be 5% more expensive, you might pay cash for that or save that money rather than spend it. Yeah. Whereas, with the low interest rate environment we're in right now, it's really designed to encourage people to go out and spend.
Okay.
And that's their overall goal with lowering rates to 0.
Got it. I also said that like home equity lines of credit might be a lot cheaper now.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. We're in a place where we entered this new financial reality with already very low rates from the Fed. So they really can't shoot too many bullets at this zombie. If they pull out their bazooka, and if it feels like they just did by lowering everything to 0, I mean, they really can't do much more than 0. And if they still can't stop this crisis, then we're just going to have to let everything unravel, unfortunately. And once again, where your money lives makes it do different things. If your money is in savings, if it's in the stock market, it's going to be immediately impacted by what the Fed is doing and what the stock market is doing.
So guys, go to yourstreamsofIncome.com, sign up for a free, it's no cost whatsoever, just a quick assessment of where you are and where you could be. And I'm so glad that I met you, Mark. Anything else you want to tell my audience about all of this?
One of the things that we may be entering into is a period of deflation. And strangely enough, it's a question of will we go into inflation or deflation, and nobody knows. But one thing's for sure, a stream of income, living with multiple income streams will protect you no matter which environment we're in. So keep listening to Ryan's show and discovering powerful ways to give you a stream of income. You want a river of money flowing into your pocket every month, into your mailbox every month. So keep up the great work, Ryan, and showing us all ways to live sanely in an insane world.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time again on here, Mark, and talk to you soon.
All right. Keep up the good work.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.